Welcome to DEIJ Hot Takes. My name is Daryl Sinclair, and this is the podcast where we discover the bold and transformative ideas shaping diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice work today. In this episode, we are joined by Constance Collins, a social studies educator and instructional coach at Singapore American School. Constance, it's great to finally connect. Please, can you share with us the DEIJ hot take that's guiding your work at the moment?
All right, so thank you for having me, first of all. And my hot take is that we shouldn't and will not waver in the face of social and political resistance to liberation, because the well being of our students, our colleagues, families depend on this commitment to recognizing the full humanity of all people. So the work really isn't optional, it's essential. And despite whatever madness might be happening globally, we must persist.
Oh, wow. A call for consolidation for all the
Mhm.
committed advocates for this work to do even more impactful work, no matter what the context is. Could you please take us through what this means in your context? Why is this a hot take? And how do you address this or make this a reality in the work that you do?
Yeah, so there are people who I've been having conversations with people who feel really discouraged by some of the resistance and pushback against some of the DEI ideals and work that's being done in educational spaces these days. And the reason why I feel so strongly about taking the stance that we shouldn't waver based on what's happening around us is because the resistance that we're facing, sometimes resistance can be a sign that um, the work is actually working. Some people might see resistance as a sign that the work isn't working, and at times that rings true, right? Like that can be true in some facets. But when it comes to a lot of the DEI work that I've been seeing happening in international schools, some of the work that individuals and groups have been doing, some of the very people who you've had on your podcast, people who I deeply admire and respect, um, the work that they're doing is really good work, and the resistance is not because the work is not making progress. Sometimes resistance comes because people want to halt the progress and hold on to the power that they might have in these institutions. So I don't want people to feel discouraged by this moment. I really want people to feel more encouraged and feel more fired up to continue with the work that they're doing in their institutions and spaces.
Okay, so within this and within the work that you're doing and the focus on inclusivity, ensuring people's ability to belong and actually exist within spaces, what does it look like for you for us to maintain, for us to keep doing this work and to ensure that as many people as possible can contribute to this work? What does it look like to be resilient and to stand strong? Perhaps with any examples you have of where you see this happening or you've seen recommitments to this work, perhaps in the context that you're working.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I always go back to is centering our work in human-centered values. I mean, like we really need to ground our work from my perspective. Grounding our work in these human-centered values is essential for fostering these impactful learning environments, right? Going back to what it means to be human, to recognizing the full humanity in each other, and grounding ourselves in these human-centered values like respect, compassion, being in dialogue with one another, conflict management, these values that transcend time and space. Um, and and you can't deny that in education. Like, who's going to say, I am against, I'm against, well, wait a second, actually, I'm against compassion. I am against love in education. I am against everyone feeling seen and human. I recognize that as I'm saying, who would be against that? Actually, there are some people, but but we have to be reminded that like this is human work. So when I'm in the classroom, for instance, regardless of all of the noise that's happening around the world and even the whispers in the institution that I'm a part of, um, around the shaky ground that DEI stands on, or that it appears DEI is standing on. When I'm in the classroom, when I'm when I'm operating from a place of love, that's not that's not DEI work. That's equity. That's
Yeah.
justice. That's inclusion. You know, it's not DEI is not a thing that exists. It's not just a
It doesn't exist in of
it's not
itself.
just it's
Yeah.
not just a buzzword. These
Mhm.
are real ideals. When you really break it down, these are human-centered ideals. So when I have a lesson that incorporates Singlish and I see the kids light up, I recently, about 2 weeks ago, did a lesson with students, and we were looking at different linguistic patterns
Mhm.
in the United States specifically because it is an American Studies class, but I brought in the local dialect of Singlish,
Mhm.
and I brought in a guest speaker into the class who talked about the evolution of Singlish, and you could see the kids light up. You could see that they were more engaged because it was something that they know, that they feel connected to. This is not this is not a buzzword. This is not something that act in and of itself was an act of love. It was an act of ensuring that kids felt seen in the curriculum, and that's not something that we can remove because of what's happening politically in the
Yeah.
world or in our spaces.
Oh no, thank you. And I love that example of where you have adapted to your context to honor the identities which are present there, and then you see the reaction. Beautiful. Um, But we do know also that there are many schools and many contexts which may not have that ability. And this might be a bit of a strange question, but in what you've learned from seeing other practitioners do amazing work like you're doing and retaining the commitment to equity work and inclusion work and operating from a place of love, a human place of love,
Hmm.
is there anything you feel that we can learn from those institutions, those contexts where they might have less ability to weather these challenges? They may be forced to step back from certain initiatives, or they may not be able to bring in a speaker or be as explicit with ensuring the belonging of their students through these means. Is there anything you feel that we can learn from that, take from that, even if it's something to avoid? What do you feel we can learn from those situations?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's so multifaceted. I think one thing that we can learn from those institutions is that our structural change must go deeper. The work can't live in a DEI office. It can't live in just a group of people who are on a task force or on a committee that's pushing DEI work. We need to. I believe. I believe um, that we need to go back to the pedagogy, right?
Mhm.
Like it can't. This needs to live in our everyday work, our systems. It can't just live in buildings that have DEI, or a person who has the role of a coordinator. But this has to be the work of ensuring that diversity is is fostered and leveraged in a way that benefits everyone in an institution. That equity, I'm trying to break down the the acronyms
No, no,
because DI
yeah,
still to some can feel like a buzzword. That equity is examining our systems like grading and discipline policies and dress code. that we're being inclusive in the ways in which we support all kids, and um, that we are dismantling these structures that stand in the way of justice. That work cannot live in one part of the institution. We have the responsibility, those of us who really care deeply about the well-being of our students, about education and thriving in education. We have to work in our small ways to embed equity, um, to embed these values and ideals and principles into everything that we do, the interactions that we have with people, and always operate from a place of love. If it structures, these physical structures can come and go, but you can't kill a spirit. So we need to ensure that that spirit is there, because you can take down an office, but you can't take down the spirit of people who are working towards the greater good.
And that really comes through in what you're saying. If you make it the foundational culture, the foundational approach or principle or spirit in what is done, then it is shielded from what may be, the single decision of a leader in a specific context, or of the school even, that people are carrying it with them in their everyday actions. Brilliant. I just before we reach the end, I always love to ask, what is for you, if there was one key takeaway for someone listening to you, or you only had them listening for 20 seconds, what's one key takeaway? It can be a reflective question, it can be a resource, it can be anything that you would like someone to take with them having heard you speak.
Whew, okay. I would say that, okay, 20 seconds. There's the quote from Martin Luther King. It's used over and over, but it's the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice, and that justice, or bending of that arc doesn't happen on its own. It happens with us. We have to be the ones to bend it, and no act of repression can silence the spirit of people who are committed to this work, to liberation. And we come from a lineage of warriors, of love and resistance, and we won't be moved. We will not be moved. We are bending. That's what I'll take.
I love it. I'm going to keep bending towards justice. Thank you so much for sharing with us. For the people listening or watching, I'll place links in the description where you can connect with Constance and explore her ideas and her work. Thank you to everyone who's watching or listening, and I will see you on our next episode of DEIJ Hot Takes. Thank you so much, Constance.
Thank you. Thank you so much.